Hello. Welcome to Greet the Week. I am Mona Duncan, and this is another Monday. And Mondays are good days. Every day is a good day. And so today's topic is looking at becoming assertive. And this is one of my favorite topics. I just love it because it helps me to be assertive as opposed to aggressive again and again and again. And I'm going to share the screen and have a PowerPoint here that we'll look at. And I want to go to slideshow and from the beginning. So we are looking at assertive behavior. And so right now, either you can speak it out or put it in the chat, but think of, give 2 or 3 emotions that you go through whenever you need to confront someone about something. What kind of emotions do you have whenever you think about asserting? Think about confronting.
Do you want an answer now?
Sure, if you have one.
Well, most of the time it's fear of the other person's anger.
Fear of the other person's anger. Well, yeah. I like to look up words to see what they mean from the thesaurus. And to assert means to declare, to stress, to affirm, to claim. But then when you add assertive to it, the T-I-V-E, assertive, to be assertive is to be self-confident and to be self-assured, but to be it in a way that is not overpowering of the other person. It's to be in okay, so anyway, thinking about something that, what emotions do you have whenever you need to confront someone about something? And so this here, this is a direct quote from the book, Your Perfect Right. And the book is about assertiveness, a guide to assertive living, but it also is about the Constitution and about parliamentary procedure and how to have a meeting where everyone's voice is heard without it becoming a free-for-all. And so this is a direct quote from the book, and it says, assertive behavior promotes equality in human relationships, enabling us, and then I put into bullet points the 4 enablers, enabling us to act in our own best interest, to stand up for ourselves without undue anxiety. Not that the anxiety will be gone completely, but it won't be real, it won't be overly. To express honest feelings comfortably, and to exercise personal rights without denying the rights of others. And so that is Your Perfect Right by Robert Alberti and Michael Emmons. And it's very, very effective. And this is some of my definitions of what assertive characteristics is like. And then we're going to be looking at how to obtain it. Is having confidence in stating your position or in making a claim, as in just speaking it out in a neutral or a natural tone of voice, as opposed to, the overly declaring. It is being firm yet kind. Firmness shows respect for you, as in here is a boundary, someone's trying to cross it. Firmness shows respect for you. Kindness shows respect toward the person that you are setting the boundary for. So it's being firm yet kind. Assertiveness is asking for change without demanding change. Whose behavior can you control? The only person's behavior we can control is ours, but we can ask for rather than demanding. We can ask for them to whatever the need may be. And then point 3 there, or point 4, is carefronting. I like to call it carefronting as opposed to confronting, because confronting kind of in and of itself gives a negative to it. So I care enough about you, I care enough about myself, I care enough about this situation that I will confront you about the issue, but do so gently, constructively, and clearly. Think about it before you just blurt something out. Think about what you're going to say, and also think about how it may be received. And so think about it. Assertive characteristics is have the confidence, self-confidence that replaces being self-conscious. Now, all of this will take a little bit of practice. Matter of fact, everything in life takes practice. And the more we consciously practice something, that if we're consciously aware of something all the time, then we're kind of on a state of alert. So we want to be aware. We want to be aware of what, well, I'm not able to give this with real good definition right now, so I'm going to go on. And then also assertive behavior is having humility. And my definition of humility, I like to look at what things are as well as what they're not, because everything has kind of, there's two sides to every coin. And so to me, humility is not thinking less of yourself, but it is thinking of yourself less. I mean, it is about me, yeah. If I wouldn't be wanting to confront if it wasn't about me. So it is about me, but it's not all about me. So it's making those requests with kindness, firm yet kind, so that someone will at least listen to you. And then realizing that I'll just approach it with some humility, that I could be wrong. I could be wrong here. And I want some grace whenever that does happen. So I have looked here at the natural qualities that we have a tendency to be, either passive, passive-aggressive, or aggressive. And so I thought I'd talk just a few minutes about each one and what it looks like, because, to thine own self be true and know thyself. And if we don't know ourselves, we may be a combination of all these things at different times, but there will be one that will be dominant. And we may be that, but if we don't know ourselves, we will deny the fact that we are that way. So I like to look at passive. And what does passive behavior look like? Well, it looks like here, I call it the turtle syndrome. The turtle syndrome is walking across the field and everything is a-okay, but as soon as a car goes by, not even close to it, or a dog comes up to smell it, what happens to the turtle? Well, he just clams up. He pulls his head in, he pulls his feet in, and he tightens down. He just closes down. And so a passive person, whenever there is conflict or something that needs to be said, they have a tendency to be stuffers or backpackers. They'll just kind of stuff it. They become a doormat. You need someplace to wipe your feet? Well, here's my back. Go ahead, just wipe away. And it's a flight, not the fight or flight. It's the getting away from or the closing down of. Have a passive in wanting to either speak up or when being spoken to about making a request, have a tendency to look down or look away. It's difficult to have eye contact. They are pleasers. They want to please everyone. Just everything's a-okay. Just peace at all costs. Very compliant. Have a self-controlled facade. Just this, this facade that everything is in control, but it isn't. It's just roiling up on the inside. And they're, go into silence and second guessing. Maybe they have something they want to say, or they backtrack, continually backtracking. So that passive person, but the thing of it is it brings no resolve. It doesn't solve a thing. In my company, I call it solution principles. And I chose to name it that because I so firmly believe that there is a solution to every malady in life, every malady. But it's following a principle, not a rule. You know, rules are made to be broken. Well, I don't know if they're made to be broken, but they often are. But there is a principle. And when we follow a principle, that principle can go the distance, whichever distance it is. And so, but all too often we become, you know, in a passive, we want resolve, but there's no resolve and we're trapped inside our own little shell. Then there's also passive aggressive. And I call passive aggressive the James Bond syndrome, meaning that it's real underhanded. It's sneaky, it's real indirect. It resists demands, it always procrastinates and dawdles. A passive aggressive person, they're always forgetting. Oh, I forgot. Would you please pick up some bread on the way home, or would you stop and get the laundry? Oh, but I forgot. And I mean, you know, maybe they do forget, but if it becomes that habit again and again and again of always forgetting, especially if they have been so outwardly agreeable. Oh yeah, I'll do that. But then they don't follow through. I call it emotionally dishonest. I mean, it can be so obvious because of our demeanor. I mean, people can read us, and our demeanor gives us away, whether we're speaking it honestly or not. And so all too often, it's that emotional dishonest. Well, are you okay? You know, oh, everything's okay. That's all right. Nothing's wrong. Just kind of half-hearted, give some double messages, feigns peace. That passive aggressive person is the type of, when it gets to a really extreme example, is I will cut the brake lining and then it'll look like it's been an accident. And again, that brings no resolve, but it sets up in the passive aggressive person that there has to be some kind of a getting even. I'll show you. And then there is the aggressive. And I call the aggressives the bulldozer syndrome, in that the aggressive person comes in and they just bulldoze over everything and leave a wake in the process. Always blowing off steam, outburst, angry, wrathful, fighting, in responding to some kind of that glare, that stare down, that my way or my way, being stubborn, that arrogant pride, often very verbally and quite often physically abusive, having internal conflict, but maybe not knowing how to express that internal conflict. And definitely there's no peace and there's no resolve, but it just leaves a wake, and it's I win, you lose. So the personality puzzle. I like to look at the myths of, and then what kind of the myths, and then the myth busters, that the DNA, someone one time told me, said that DNA means do not attempt to fix anything, you know, don't attempt, because it's in there, it's set. Well, I say that the myth buster is with the epigenetics. And here, you know, I put a little light switch. It can be turned on and it can be turned off, turned on or turned off. Because our genes, that these things have always been. It's not something that just happened. It's always been that our genes would turn off and turn on, but we didn't know it. And because we didn't know it, we didn't even try. But that epigenetic is the hardening part that is above the actual gene itself, that we got from who knows how many generations back, 8, 10, 12 generations back, that we was getting genes from parents and grandparents and great-grandparents. And anyway, that gene, as we began to turn it off, for example, in my own life personally, as well as to demonstrate, it shows up in losing or gaining weight. And as being someone that was a yo-yo dieter and always losing and gaining and losing and gaining, until finally it dawned on, I began to learn about epigenetics and that you can turn that switch off. But you begin to turn it off by saying no to some things, by saying no to donuts, by saying no to second helpings, by saying no to all kinds of candy. You begin to, and saying yes to some things, by saying yes to mobility. But these things, as we begin to become aware of them, we begin to make different choices. That epi that's on top of the gene begins to form a hardened shell that begins to actually change. It morphs. Well, over here, another one, another myth of the personality puzzle is that it's gender specific. Men are aggressive, women are passive. Well, nah, nah, wrong answer. The myth buster is it's both, it's male and female. And I personally know as many of either or that has those qualities of being passive aggressive or passive aggressive. The myth is that, you know, you're either totally dependent or you're totally independent. Well, the goal and the myth buster is for us to be interdependent. I need you, you need me, we need each other. I can be very independent. I can open the door for myself. There's a lot of things I can do. But you know what? We do need each other. And it's that interdependency. And then the myth of, well, you're either an introvert or an extrovert. And there may be some truth to that. Although with my own life, I find that the more I begin to look at who I am and who I really want to be, that the more control we have over our lives and what we think and what we do, that the more we can be balancing those things out. That it's not to being so introverted or so extroverted, as being willing to, if you are that introvert, be willing to co-mingle with family, knowing that it's not that you can have your alone time later. And then, of course, the myth of BS or silly baloney. And then the brain science of looking at the fact that this also goes hand in hand with choice theory, that we have 4 components that work together as a whole system, and all systems work perfectly for the results that it brings. Our thinking, our acting, our feeling, and our physiology all works perfectly for the results that comes about in our life. Whether that result is anger, whether that result is chaos, whether that result is calm. It's with all of those 4 elements working together. So, assertive. Here is just looking at assertive behavior as we acknowledge it, and everyone is assertive at some time in their life. When everything is going right, almost everyone can be just really assertive. It's whenever things start to not go just the way we have planned them. It's being open and honest, it's giving leverage, it's being consistent, it's being approachable, it's even the posture. You know, it's a posture of being alert as opposed to slumping. It's even, I mean, it flows, it's stability, it's keeping your word, it's having a peacemaker. But the beautiful thing is that assertive behavior resolves conflicts. It is realizing that I am a person of infinite worth and value, and so are you. That no one is, there's richer people, there's poorer people, but no one is inferior or superior of another. We're just not. We have too much equality as who we are as individuals. So my promise to you is that assertiveness is easy to learn. And once you see the principles and put them into practice, and practice and practice and practice, you will engage life and deal with people in an entirely different way. It will be unrestrained and it will be refreshing. So let's look at just a few steps to being assertive. One is breathe, learning to breathe. Unfortunately, the American culture does not see the sacredness of breathing. But you know what? Without that breath, and one day it's going to stop, that breath is our life. It's breathing in and it's breathing out. And it's just learning to breathe and appreciate your breath and take it all the way deep down into the diaphragm, not just the shallow breathing that's up here in it. And in times of anger, you're not breathing, and so therefore it's hard to even speak because there's no breath there. So you want that breath. And it's awareness. I have number two. There's two awarenesses here, okay? It's an awareness observing your own behavior and honestly assessing, could I change that part of my personality? Or am I so stuck with that's just the way I am, bless God? Except not only does it not bless God, it really doesn't even bless me. And it certainly doesn't bless the people that we may be interacting with. So it's observing your own behavior and honestly assessing what needs to be changed, and then looking at the fact, do you have the courage to change it? And then the second awareness is observing your own behavior and keeping tracks of areas where you are assertive, where you do actually speak up and say, oh, wait a minute, I don't quite understand that. Or I'm sorry, I've misspoke, but let me rephrase it. And then third step here, or another point, is to observe and then begin to emulate an effective role model. Begin to see someone that is really handling a difficult situation graciously. And begin to say, hey, you know what? Maybe I could learn to do that too. Because we are capable of learning. We are quite capable of learning. My sister, she married a man with 3 children, and then later they had their own, but in working with the stepchildren, there was, I began to notice that they would say something to her, and it would be kind of making a demand. And my sister would just look at them, and she would kind of give this little smile, and she'd say, well, now, I don't know. She said, are you asking me or are you telling me? And it was such a good way to come back to the children. And they would kind of back up and, well, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm. And so whenever there's something that you see that was working well, and maybe you can work it well without it being real dogmatic, then begin to incorporate it. So another step, baby steps, is taking personal responsibility for your actions, for your attitudes, for your agenda. I like to stop and ask myself, what kind of facial expression am I giving? Because, sometimes you can give the look. Am I giving the look? And we are quite capable of changing that expression. Take personal responsibility for who you hang out with, for where you go, for how you spend your money, for how you spend your time. Take personal responsibility for those things that you do have a large amount of control over. Number 5, self-evaluate your actions, your attitudes, your agendas. Is this being helpful? Is it being hurtful? How so? Get that old scale out there and weigh it. Number 6, imagine yourself in a different situation and handling the situation appropriately. Practice in the mind what you wish to accomplish in reality. And in goal setting and in coaching, who will you be? Get that in picture of you in mind, who you really, really, really want to be. And maybe even write it down and read it every day. This is who I really, really, really am deep down when I know my wisdom heart. This is who I am. And I'm growing into that. No matter how old I get, I'm growing into that. And read it every day and then practice in your mind. See yourself doing that, being that, understanding that. And then acknowledge yourself whenever you do. Step 7, or it's not a step 7. It's not a 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's as they become more aware to you. Is to concentrate on the situation, not another's personality and not your emotions. But be aware of what emotions are rising so that you can calm them down, so that you can put a damper on, so that you can, or if you notice that you're beginning to clam up, begin to give yourself a little courage to speak up. So point number 8, or observation number 8, is to observe the feedback that you're receiving from others, whether it's their looks or their tone of voice or their gestures. Observe feedback from life. Observe feedback from your body. What's your body saying? What is that headache, that backache, that stomach ache, that weak knees? What is your body saying? What is your wisdom heart saying? Is it saying yes or no? What are some guideposts that you've set for yourself? You know, if we set a guidepost for ourselves, if we realize that we need to fill the car up before it gets all the way to E, then you've got kind of a little guidepost there to go by. And how much peace are you receiving? Observe the feedback. Is it peaceful? Is it more anger producing? And then how might I be contributing to the kind of feedback that I'm receiving? Another point or another observation is to make a plan, set a goal, practice, 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 practice. Read books, observe. And then another point is always, always to get bottom line honest with yourself. And that firmness yet kind applies there also. Like, you know, adding up the 1, 2, 3 and the 2, 3, 4s, because math is, it is an exact science. There's a lot of sciences that have a lot of leeways to it. There's not too much leeways with bottom lines. And whenever we realize that this is our bottom line of who our wisdom heart knows we can be, but we're not there yet, then we need to get honest with ourselves, being firm yet kind. Being firm, oh no, I blew it again. But be kind with you and, you know, fuss at yourself. Let yourself know I'm not pleased with the way you behaved with that encounter. But yet be kind to yourself, because you are a person of infinite worth and value. So here's a little cartoon that I cut out for Marvin by Tom Armstrong back in 2002. And so the little boy is in daycare and there's some bullies and he don't know how to handle the bullies. So his dog is helping him to practice. And his dog says to him, "Are you ready?" "Yeah, I think so." So the dog is saying, "Marvin, you are a curtain climber, a spoiled rat. You're a crybaby. You're a rug rat." Oh, look at him. He's so upset. "Marvin, you're droopy drawers. You're a big baby. Marvin, you're a namby-pamby, moddly-coddly, mama's boy." And then the dog says, "Oh, much better. No time. You didn't break into tears." And look at old Marvin. He's got this little self-confident smile on his face. "Bitsy is helping me build up my immune system against daycare bullies' name-calling." Well, you know, we can build up our immune system against people that don't agree with us. The very idea. We can build up an immune system against what we may think is being a put down. And it may be a put down. It may be. And so it's finding our voice so that we can not answer, not clamming up, but just not answering to an ugly name that someone would call us. So the little I feel when you because. And I know that it may be, looking at choice theory and reality therapy, that it may be more a thought than a feeling, but we're not going to split hairs right now because those emotions are there. And it's beginning to say, I feel hurt when you address me that way because I'm a person of worth and value. Or when you don't keep your promises, I am upset because I trust you. And when I see that, when I see you, when from my point of view, you're being untrustworthy, it hurts me and it harms our relationship. You can that because, because when you, I feel, but just getting those three little phrases in there. And here's just some other assertive phrases that could be used. I cannot respond to that right now. I know in working with the prisoners and trying to help them, because there was just so many that they'd follow you. They'd hunt you down. You can't get away from that. You're going to answer and you're going to answer right now. No, I think not. No, give someone time to think about it and to come back and respond, but do not pursue. I cannot respond to that right now. I need more information before you just speak up. I don't like. And it's okay to speak up and tell someone, I don't like that tone of voice. I don't like that. I need. And one of the things that I use real quick is, I need you to know. And sometimes the things I need you to know is what a good job you're doing. And maybe I haven't mentioned it to, but I like to phrase it that I need you to know. But also, I need you to know I don't need. And sometimes people say, well, why did you do that? Well, I chose to. I need you to. I need you to stop. Because if we just say stop, and whenever we use those, it's always speaking in I statements. It's how I feel, I think, I see, I heard, I read. It's using an I statement rather than proclaiming it out as an absolute. I need you to stop. I feel, I choose to, I choose not to. No, thank you. Well, our time is coming to a close. So, on the chat, I'm sending my chat to everyone, which is my email address, and asking for comments. Erica chimed in earlier about some feelings whenever she was going to confront someone of heart racing and anxiety and fear of being wrong. And I'm stopping the recording. I thank you for being here. And those of you that are here live, stay tuned and we'll chat together.
Mona, thank you very much for what you're doing. I think it's very, very edifying. Thanks a lot.